What's up guys, Sax here. Bungie recently revealed an array of exotic weapon changes, along with announcing the full set of artifact mods that we'll have access to during the Edge of Fate, and I just had to start theory crafting up some builds. As most of you guys know, I'm an absolute Titan main, but you may not have known that my two favorite elements to play of all time are Solar and Stasis Titan. So today, I'm about to show you guys what I think will be a killer meta combination that makes you practically unkillable while dealing insane damage, featuring an exotic weapon that you may not have thought about for quite some time. Real quick though, if you guys missed the announcement, I'm doing Destiny 2 content creation full time now, and I'm looking to provide a positive and optimistic look into all things Destiny. I would be forever grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into the build. Today, we're going to be building out a Prismatic Titan, which will synergize perfectly with the Edge of Fate artifact mods and the updated Frost Armor system that Bungie rolled out back in the final shape. For those who don't know, your Guardian can receive up to 5 stacks of a stasis buff called Frost Armor, which provides a method of gaining up to 31.25% damage resistance. The name of the game for Prismatic Titan has and will continue to be punch first, ask questions later. But this build tweaks the gameplay a little bit to lean into the synergies that the artifact provides. Here's how I'm going to break it down for you guys. First, we'll look at the artifact mods that we'll be utilizing. Next, we'll talk about the specific subclass build. And finally, we'll round it out by talking about armor and weapons that I'm choosing to equip. Looking at the artifact mods first, it's obvious that Bungie wants us to lean into the idea of mixing light and dark damage. So let's follow down the path they've presented us. Fever and Chill states that rapid precision hits with solar weapons grant Radiant, and rapid precision hits with stasis weapons grants Frost Armor. We're going to take advantage of this to gain the increase to our outgoing weapon damage through Radiant in the damage resistance provided through Frost Armor. Bungie has given us 3 mods that provide benefits for leaning into Frost Armor. One with Frost, Frost Renewal, and Frigid Glare. One with Frost states that while Frost Armor is active, stasis weapons gain increased reload speed and stability, and stasis swords gain increased guard resistance. Frost Renewal states that while you have Frost Armor, taking critical damage releases a burst that freezes nearby combatants and grants Frost Armor to you and nearby allies. Finally, Frigid Glare states that while Frost Armor is active, Stasis Precision Final Blows cause combatants to release a freezing burst. The Cauterized Darkness mod states that Stasis or Strand debuff non-boss combatants will take increased solar damage from all sources, so we'll circle back to this when we discuss weapons in a bit. And finally, Flame Fiber and Freeze combines the Solar, Strand, and Stasis Siphon mods into one. There are also some broader gameplay artifact mods that will apply, such as Reciprocal Draw, which states rapid non-sidearm final blows will grant sidearms a period of increased damage for a short time. Shield Crush, which states that while you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or a Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage, and while you're amplified or radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. And finally, Elemental Overdrive, which states that when you pick up an elemental pickup, such as Stasis Shards or a Fire Sprite, this will increase damage to weapons of that same element. Next, let's talk about the Prismatic Titan subclass configuration. For Super, I've chosen Glacial Quake. For Aspects, I will have to suggest Knockout and Consecration until Bungie gives us a reason to use something else. Looking longingly at you, Diamond Lance. Consecration is being nerfed in a couple of ways in the Edge of Fate, but it still outshines the other choices at this point. For Fragments, remember that Consecration is losing 1 fragment slot as it's being reduced from 3 down to 2, but this brings us to 4 fragments that we can still choose from, and here are the ones I would suggest. Facet of Bravery states rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy, and rapidly defeating enemies with darkness damage grants grenade energy. Facet of Protection states while surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. While Transcendent, the effect is increased. The amount of DR received is 12% at base and 32% while Transcendent. Facet of Purpose will give you a stack of Frost Armor every time you pick up an Orb of Power. And finally, Facet of Ruin will increase the size and damage of the burst when you shatter a stasis crystal or frozen target. This will also increase the size of solar ignitions. For abilities, go with Glacier Grenade for extra opportunities to freeze, shatter, and create dark transcendent energy. Frenzy Blade for up to 3 melee charges, and pick Towering Barricade as it will play nicely into our exotic class item choice. Now, let's round out the build by detailing our armor and weapon choices. For exotic armor, I'm going to go with the exotic class item with Spirit of Hoarfrost Hoarfrost plus Spirit of Synthoceps. But remember, if you don't have these exotic class items, you could always sub in one of the full exotics, Hoarfrost Z or Synthoceps, for similar effects. Spirit of Hoarfrost states, your barricade becomes a wall of stasis crystals that slows nearby targets when created. This also works with the thruster ability, but it provides a much smaller amount of crystals per activation, so just stick with the tall wall. Spirit of Synthoceps provides a 165% damage boost when surrounded by 3 or more enemies within 15 meters. For my kinetic slot weapon, I'm choosing to go with Tinasha's Mastery with Chill Clip, as it will be highly effective against both Overload and Unstoppable champions. For my heavy weapon, I've chosen to go with the World Drop Stasis Aggressive Frame Machine Gun Coiffure 5, which can easily provide the rapid stasis precision hits that we need to apply frost armor from a distance. And finally, I'm pairing both of these weapons with the Solar 720 RPM exotic auto rifle Tommy's Matchbook, which has the exotic perk Ignition Trigger, which will increase the damage of the weapon the longer you hold down the trigger, but will also burn the wielder, and Heatsink, which states that you receive less overheat damage when hip firing this weapon. Now, Tommy's has always been an interesting weapon in the sandbox, but as Destiny players, we often put aside anything that provides us with a negative modifier, no matter how fun the fantasy of the weapon may be. Thankfully, in the Edge of Fate, Tommy's is getting a rework that makes it more viable, as well as receiving overload stunning capabilities from the artifact. Bungie is adding a bar on your HUD that will charge as the Ignition Trigger perk is activated, and you will no longer lose your Ignition Trigger immediately if you stop shooting for a moment. The Heatsink self-damage has been further decreased down to 50% when hip firing, and you'll now gain Cure ×1 if you get a kill while Ignition Trigger is active. In the background, you've been seeing my gameplay footage and the way I believe you should play this build, which is fast, loose, and in the middle of the action. I like to open my engagements with shattering a stasis crystal in a group of enemies. That will allow me to gain an immediate burst of darkness transcendence energy, along with picking up any orbs you may generate. I try to play in the middle of groups of enemies to proc the Synthoceps melee buff and the additional facet of protection damage resistance. Remember, Spirit of Hoarfrost will convert your defensive barricade into an additional offensive weapon in your arsenal. I like to use Tinasha's on larger enemies to stun or apply the stasis slow debuff, then switch to Tommy's Matchbook to gain radiance from rapid precision hits and to deal increased damage against the debuffed enemies through the Cauterized Darkness mod, and then switch back to Tinasha's for bonus damage after you get some rapid kills with your other weapon through reciprocal draw. One last thing, let's talk about the Lord of Wolves shaped elephant in the room. Obviously, it's an extremely viable option to simply run double special and call it a day. However, there are unknowns about exactly how the special ammo economy will work in the next expansion due to the new ammo meter system. And hey, they give you 9 loadout spots for a reason. This makes Tommy's an easy weapon to swap out for Lord of Wolves if you want to shred the hardest content, Polaris Lance if you need a strong option for anti-barrier, or maybe try out the new Galler Bow, Hierarchy of Needs. I hope you guys have enjoyed my first Titan build video that I've uploaded to the channel, and please leave a comment below on areas that you think I can improve, as I hope to get 1% better at my job each and every day. I have a collection of dim links in my channel bio from past builds, and I will include this specific build in the description below. If you have not yet, please like and subscribe to help push the channel forward, and until next time, Guardian, be blessed.